just a few things to put on your radar before we kind of dive into this call, this amazing Monday morning. The diamond bonus, guys, get that on your team's radar. Okay, we have 2 more days to hit Success Club, and then again, Success Club again in November, Success Club in December, and then we're holding that diamond rank or 1-star diamond rank for 6 consecutive weeks. Okay. Also, if you do not have your November to Remember teams together, okay, grab a partner, grab your success partner, grab a newer coach. Let's get them rolling and starting right, especially with an amazing, new kind of reinnovated, team cup kind of stuff. But it's going to be a lot more fun. So let's get our November to Remember teams together and get everyone together in regards to that. Other than that, those were my only little announcements this morning. I'm excited about today's call with Moira. I know that she's, really just kicking butt this year. She's ranked number 9 in the network right now. Her team, seriously, they're catching the vision and they know exactly what to be doing from an amazing leader like Moira. So Moira, jump in here. Introduce yourself a little bit to all of us and kind of how you got started.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for having me, Robbie. It's an honor to be on any call ever, honestly. So I was a Pilates instructor for a lot of years and I had a studio, and this was a ways back, but I sold that studio just because it was monotonous and I felt like I was intended for something more. And after you count to 10,000 times a day for 15 years, you're like, is this really all I'm meant for? And so I took a risk, though. I think that's an important thing to point out is that, I walked away from something that was really hard to walk away from because it was super easy and it was really good money and I didn't have to think about it and it was easy. But I knew that, look, Haley Christensen's on the call. Hey, girl. And I think it's important to note that that was a point in my life that I walked through some fear and I didn't just sit with what was comfortable. And so I took a risk. I walked away from a lot of income and I decided to start a cold pressed juice company in Charleston because I wanted to make an impact in the community and I wanted to make an impact in people's lives. And I wanted to do something bigger, and the idea of building a business has always been fun to me. I'm kind of a natural born entrepreneur. I used to buy candy and mark it up and sell it to my friends in the neighborhood kind of thing. And so I saw the need for this in our city and we went after it in a really big way. And we launched this company and it was super exciting and fun. And what's behind that is a lot of work. And it took, I always say when you have your own business, whether it's really successful, if it's really successful, you are investing more time and more money to expand it and grow it and build it bigger and bigger. And if it's sucking wind, you're investing more time and more money to make it work. So, and everyone that starts a business underestimates those two things, how much time and how much money. And so as successful as this company was on the outside, I think the first month we were our goal was to sell 1,000 bottles of juice and we sold 10,000 bottles of juice. We were all over the city. Of course, that looked super fun, very lifestyle brand, surfer, in all the yoga festivals. And there was parts of it that were really fun. And there were parts of it that were a dream come true. But there were more parts of it that were just hard. And things I was the shipping department. I was customer service. I was delivering the juice. I was pressing the juice. I was dealing with lawyers. I was dealing with DHEC. It all came down to me. And, when it's your own business, you don't get paid one penny, it's reinvest, reinvest, reinvest. And so 2 years into that, I was literally broken, just couldn't. It's just that, every single day it kind of chipped away at me. And 2 years in, you don't recognize where you're at because, it's like boiling a frog in the water, And I ironically had met a girl in Southern California. I'm on the East Coast. And she was a coach, and she asked me to join her challenge group. So part of my story is that I've always struggled. Even though I was an athlete and I was in health and wellness, I always struggled with my journey, and mainly nutrition and food and eating disorders. So I was always desperate for a solution to just make this struggle with my body easier. And so I joined her challenge groups in this really, really stressful time in my life. And it was like my saving grace. You know, it was my life preserver. It was like my community that I went to when I was like falling apart. I will tell you, I was the world's worst challenger. I barely ever participated. I never gave anything back. I was at a place where like I, kind of just took to just keep me going. And my coach always brought up coaching to me, but because my life was coming to an absolute breaking point, I wanted nothing to do with what she was doing. A, it was a total pyramid scheme and I wasn't going to get involved in that. And B, like all I wanted was to stop and put my life back together. Like I needed help. And when I say I needed help, like my best friendships were like falling apart, like major falling outs with friends, just because I was so stressed out and driven and didn't have time to be good to anyone. You know, I was just under an immense amount of stress with that business. And so I didn't talk to my mom for 4 months around this time. Like we had a huge falling out. And my husband basically came to me when I brought up the idea of signing up as a coach, just because I thought this might be something that like brings me some joy. You know, like this might be something that makes me happy because I'm miserable. And he said to me, after he thought I was like insane to add something to my plate, he came to me one morning after he did his Beachbody workout. And he said, listen, I thought about what you said about being a coach, and I really think you need to do it, because if you don't do something, I mean, he didn't say he was going to divorce me, but without saying that, I felt like that's what he was saying. I think he said something to the extent of, you are miserable to live with, and this house is really unhappy because of where you're at. And so I decided to sign up to be a coach. And when I say that, I really truly signed up to be a coach to save myself, because I still couldn't get it together. And I knew that by stepping into leading others that I would finally show up for myself. And so I reached out to my 2 best friends and said, hey guys, I need you. I need your help. I'm falling apart. I can't do this. I'm the unhealthiest I've ever been running a cold pressed juice company, ironically. And will you do this with me? And so the 3 of us committed to each other, and the magic happened. You know, the magic of what happens is that we were accountable to each other. All of our lives changed so much that month, that 30 days. And I caught the fever for coaching, because I was able to make such a ridiculous impact in their life by doing nothing but cheering them on and participating myself. And so I thought, gosh, I want to do that again. Like I want a little bit more of that. And so I reached out to a couple more friends, and then I reached out to a couple more friends. And that was it for the first few months. Like this was a hobby for me. I was putting my life back together. I actually made a decision at that time to walk away from that company. I lost everything, meaning like I handed it over to my business partner on a silver platter, but my marriage and my sanity and my life weren't worth whatever that business was going to bring me. And it was such a crazy decision that like my husband and I didn't even tell our families, because we thought they're going to think we're like the stupidest people in the world. And so we did that though. I walked away from that company and just wanted to be a hobby coach. But I'm also an entrepreneur and driven, and I was starting to see the opportunity, and I was stalking top coaches, like to really figure this thing out. And the more I stalked, the more I believed. And in month 4, it was like kind of the perfect storm. Summit had just happened. I'd watched it live streamed. I got on a coach call with Josh Spencer. He was the guest speaker. And I heard his story, and he was real, and he was in front of me, and it lit my fire for the business. And I saw like the opportunity of like, why not me? Why not me? You know? And there was also right shortly thereafter, it was Team Cup. And so that was a huge piece of the puzzle in the beginning. You know, it was like, now I had to show up and drive, bringing people in, not just for me, but for my team. And I wasn't going to let them down, because again, that's a theme. Like, I will never let you down, but I will let me down. And so that really just started my business. From that month 4, I went from hitting Success Club 6 the first few months to, I think, like 40, 50, 60 every month thereafter. And I mean, some months it's 20 right now. But I mean, usually like this month is probably average like 40 or 50. And I just caught the fire, you know, and I did all the things. I mean, we always say that on my team, like, just do all the things. Don't pick and choose what you want to do. Like, I just had a coach that was sitting around for a year, and she decided, because it's a decision, to go diamond. Just like it's a decision to go premier. It's a decision to be elite. You have to own it, and you have to be it, and you have to show up and work your business as if you're a premier or elite coach every freaking day. I work my business every freaking day like I'm a 7-figure earner. A year ago, that was a 6-figure earner. Now I show up every day to be a 7-figure earner, because I'll never be a 7-figure earner if I work $100,000 income every day. Does that make sense? You know, you have to show up as who you want to be, not who you are today. And you have to believe it. I am so about vision. I don't know if you guys were at Summit. So in the very, very, very beginning of my coaching journey, like this month 4, I was YouTube stalking, and I heard a video about, it was Lindsay Matway, and she was talking about asking yourself the question, because of the opportunity that's in front of you, if you could script your life anything you wanted with, and you knew that time was not a limiting factor and money was not a limiting factor, no time limitations, no financial limitations, what would your life look like? What would you create? Because that's the reality of what is in front of you with this Beachbody coaching opportunity. And I knew she was right. I knew this was my golden ticket. I knew this was my one opportunity. And I knew the opportunity, because, you guys, I wasn't dealing with what Carl deals with. I'm not dealing with legal. I'm not dealing with shipping. I don't pay customer services paycheck. I don't sweep the floors at the building. Like, I don't do any of the stuff that I had to do in my previous company. All I got to do is build relationships. All I got to do is build team culture. Like, I get to do all the fun stuff. I'm sorry. I thought somebody was just trying to say something. And so I saw the opportunity as a really, 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 really big one. And so I did all the things. You know, I did all the things. And I remember in the beginning, people are like, how are you hitting Success Club 30? And I was like, I filled out my business activity tracker. Like, you know, that's all I was doing. Like, I was checking off every single box. There wasn't a box that wasn't checked off every single week, week after week, month after month, year after year now. And it's interesting too, because I was asked to speak at Leadership this weekend in Vegas, and they wanted me to talk about like what I've done so differently this first year. And I was like, I can't speak on that topic. Like, I literally couldn't. I was like, I can't speak on that topic, because all I've done is try to hold on to what I did in the first 6 months of my business. Because something worked in the first 6 to 12 months. I had 7 diamonds at the end of my first full year. And I was like, something worked, and I'm not going to lose that as my business continues to build. And so what that looked like in that first year, I can remember when I knew that I was going to be shooting for like top 25, top 10. And I am a very emotional person, meaning like I'll probably cry on stage this weekend, I'm sure. But at the same time, like, I have to detach myself from stuff emotionally. And so I remember telling myself, okay, like at the top of every month, I'm stressed out of my mind. And if I'm stressed out of my mind, my business isn't going to go well. Like, it's just not. And so I have to hit Success Club 20, 30, 40. Like, I've got to keep this up. So what is the equation that works? I'm very analytical. Like, what's the equation? And I remember telling myself, okay, I bet if I invite 300 people a month, I'll hit Success Club 10. Like, that's pretty much a guarantee, and I like guarantees. So I don't need to spend hours of time and energy and stressing out and getting wrapped up in this person saying no, or getting wrapped up in all this stuff. Like, we spend so much freaking time and energy wrapped up in stuff that we don't have control over. I like to go back to like, oh yeah, I don't need to worry about that, because I know if I invite 300 people, I'm going to hit Success Club 10. And that usually looked like Success Club 30, you know? So you just have to get out of things emotionally, and you have to hit your numbers, and they got to be high. And now what I do is, you know, and I'm really big with this on my team. Like, if you follow the business activity tracker, which is gold, it tells you to invite 3 people a day. So that's 100 people a month. Like, why? You guys, it's October 30th. I'm like, oh my God, do you know how many PS coaches I have right now that are flipping out, stressed out of their minds, trying to manipulate people into buying challenge packs? I'm like, okay, I invite 50 people on the very first Monday of the month, every single month. And I invite another 50 on the first Wednesday of every single month. So 50 people Monday, follow up with them Tuesday. 50 people Wednesday, follow up with them Thursday, Friday. So in week number 1, I have Success Club locked in. Why on earth do you make it so freaking hard on yourself? And I'm not talking to you guys, I'm talking to my team. Like, I don't understand that. I'm like, you make yourself hate this business because of the position that you put yourself in. Like, why not just kind of make yourself a little miserable for a few days? And then you're like on fire. You're like, holy shit, it's just Friday. Sorry, I'm not allowed to curse on these calls. It's Friday. It's the first week of the month, and I'm at SC12. Like, you're on fire, and your energy is going to dictate the rest of your month. Your energy, you're going to start signing up more people just because you're so fired up. You're also going to have plenty of time in the month to talk to people about the coaching opportunity. I am very separate in my approach I talk to challengers, I invite and I follow up for the first 2 weeks of the month. I post about it on social media. I'm talking about my challenge group. That's all I'm doing the first 2 weeks of the month. And then I'm like, done, challenge group's up and running. Now it's easy. Now I just get to coach them through the process. That's the fun and easy part of our job, I think. And now I get to post and talk about the coaching opportunity for the last 2 weeks of the month. Run a coach sneak peek, do a coach opportunity call, whatever it is. I cannot really talk to coaches and challengers like at the same time. It just makes me crazy. You know, it does not maximize my time. It's like you're multitasking, and we all know, we've done enough personal development to know, like, multitasking is like, you know, the worst thing we can do because we're so not productive. It's the same thought process with me, like dividing my month into 2 different sections. So that's really what I've done. You know, the other thing that I feel like I've done with my team is I have, and I know we hear from corporate a lot, like, stay in phase 1, stay in phase 1. I don't think you really need to hear that message until you're probably 2 or 3 years into coaching, honestly. I mean, you have to invest in your team. I can tell you exactly why I popped 7 diamonds my first year is because I set up weekly calls with those girls as soon as they became business builders. As soon as they said, and I don't even mean business builders, as soon as they became hobby coaches and said they wanted to do something, I said, all right, I'm going to set up one-on-one calls with everybody. And this is important too. Like, if you say to your PS coaches, I'm going to do one-on-one calls from 1 to 3 on Wednesdays, first come, first serve. What do you think happens? People are like, I want this time. I want this time. But if you're like, Haley, do you want to get on a call with me? I'd really like to help you. Are you sure? Can I help you? Can I please help you? Like, they're just like, you know, like, you've got to be the boss. They've got to know that your time is valuable. And if they don't take it, someone else is going to take it. And you've got to let them know that you are there and you're offering your time, but that, like, the other time you're in phase 1, you're building your business. Don't interrupt me. And so I worked with those girls, and I look back on that. I'm thinking to myself for a second. I'm like, wait, is this call recorded? Is anyone going to see it? Not that I'm talking bad about my team, but a lot of those diamonds who are still my diamonds are not people that I ever would now think like they're going to be my next rock star long-term diamond coach. They became diamonds because every single week I got on a call with them and I inched them forward. There were so many calls where they'd be like, oh my God, Moira, I haven't done anything. And I'd be like, that's okay. And I would still give them my time. You guys, if you don't have 10 diamonds or whatever, you've got the time in your business, like, or make the time in your business for your team. You know, make the time for a 20-minute call with the people that are trying to push there. So that 20-minute call, you know, sometimes we would just chat about life, but then I'd say, hey, did you think about this? And they'd be like, oh my God, that's a great idea. And it would just bump them forward a little bit, bump them forward, bump them forward. I can guarantee if I wasn't doing weekly calls with those girls, they would not be coaches on my team right now. They would have left a long time ago. And so you have to invest in your team. You have to give them that one-on-one time. I think there's a huge difference too. I do a lot of collective, you know, we had a push to diamond call last night. There's something different about when there's 6 or 8 people on a call versus one-on-one. There's something different about moving someone's business forward and helping them one-on-one, even if it's 15 minutes. Another trick that I've used this year is to do Zoom calls. So they are 15 or 20-minute increments. And so somebody can't monopolize an hour because somebody else pops on the screen and they're like, oh, I got to go. And so they know it's like, get down to business, you know, get down to business, ask your questions, let me help you. You know, we don't have time to chit chat. But I do think the other thing that I look back on the beginning of why this worked for me was we really worked our challenge group as a team. You know, if you guys were those coaches, like Jen would be in charge of recipes and she would be posting recipes every day and creating a file for it. Haley would be talking about Shakeology every day. Jessica would be doing something else. Like everybody was a leg on the table and nobody really could go anywhere. Do you know what I mean? Like people that aren't really helping co-lead a challenge group can just stop and like nobody notices. It doesn't really feel any different to them. Like these girls had a role and a responsibility to fulfill. And they felt honored to be a part of that and excited. And we were excited. All of us were so excited. Like, how can we make this challenge group better? What are we going to do? Did you think about this? Let's do prizes this month. Oh my God, let's do this. It was like such a team. We were such a team. And that filled my coaches up so much that they were not going to go anywhere. They just found so much joy in us doing it as a team. I wasn't telling them, okay, good, you want to bring people in, like this is how you run a challenge group, go do it. I've never done that. I can't imagine coaches being successful with that. At least not my coaches, the ones I find. They need the training wheels, you know? And I don't really kick them out until they really get their training wheels. As soon as they start onboarding coaches and need to mentor their coaches, I'm like, all right, now it's time to fly the nest. Like we can't all fit in here, you know? But I think pushing to Premier and pushing to Elite, the biggest thing like really is just the idea of like holding it in your head and owning it and being it and envisioning it. And I know that all sounds like really fluffy, like rainbows and butterflies, but it's not. Like it's how it works. When you walk around every day as an elite coach, you exude something different, and energy responds to energy. It's a fact. And I know, like going back to what I was saying about that first Lindsay video that I found that said, you know, write down your vision. I wrote down when I came home that night, and don't overthink this, like just put pen to paper and let it go. Like I've had coaches come back to me and they're like, I still haven't written my vision. I was like, what? Like this should take you like 60 seconds, not 6 months. So don't overthink it, just do it. I think that's the biggest failure of coaches. Like the number one reason why people fail is they overthink everything. Just do, action, 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 action. I mean, I can see in my coaches thread sometimes, like there'll be 50 messages back and forth about something. 50 messages about something they're thinking about. And I'm like, okay, I just sent out 50 invites. Like when you just message back and forth with each other 50 times about like somebody that's on your nerves or something, like it's crazy. So I went home that night and I wrote my vision out. I didn't know what elite was. I didn't know what top 10 meant. I didn't know what anything meant. And I wrote, I am a 2017 top 10 elite coach on stage at Summit, because I had seen that whole stage thing. And I wrote in parentheses, panel, interview/panel with Carl Deichler. You guys, they called me this year and said, we'd like you to speak at Summit on stage in a panel. I read that sentence probably 600 times before that phone call because I read it every single day. Every single day I woke up. I still read it. Now it's changed. Stakes are a little higher. I read that vision every day, and it's not just my business goals because that might stress me out in the morning, and that's not the idea of reading your vision statement. It's to get you fired up. But that vision talks about the relationship I have with my husband, the freedom that we have to travel, the kids that I'm raising, the friends that we have in our life, what we do on the weekend, how I feel in my body, what's in my bank account, like all of it. It includes every single thing you could conjure up about your life. And that is what gets me to invite 50 people when I don't want to freaking invite. Every single day. And if I didn't read that vision every single day, I would sit here and chit chat with Robbie and make something pretty for my Facebook and talk to some coaches. But I have to be a machine every single day if that vision is going to come true. And so by reading it every single morning, I show up and I work 25 times harder than I would have. It's not easy, it's not easy, but I don't want to be the person. I don't want easy, first of all. Like, that's not fun. I took my foot off the gas for like 2 days last week. And then I was like, I feel like I'm like crawling out of my skin. Like, this doesn't, like, I can go get a massage or something, but like, I like to go. Because then when you do go get a massage, you're like, oh, I so deserve this. Like, and it incentivizes me always to be like, really? Do you want to be the person that quits? Or do you want to be like, where are you going to be in 3 years? Where are you going to be in 5 years? To me, I promise you that if all of this got wiped away, I would wake up tomorrow morning and do the exact same thing and rebuild this thing from scratch. Because I love to do this work, having the work history that I've had, having my own businesses. This is like the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. The grass is greener here. We get to coach people to have better lives. And as a result of that, we get to live an extraordinary one. Like, now I'm going to get all weepy. It's the biggest gift that I've ever been given. And that's the other part of it, is like the belief that I have in this opportunity. I feel like I cannot believe that I have been given the opportunity to give this to someone else. Like, I get to offer them the one thing that is going to change their life bigger than anything else that they're ever going to do. Like, how incredible is that? So am I going to tiptoe around that? Hell no. Like, I mean, there's nothing to tiptoe around. Like, it's the best thing that anyone could ever do. Like, yeah, do you want to be in your best shape of your life? Do you want to be in this club of like the most awesome people on the freaking planet? Do you want to have the potential of making 6 or 7 figures? Oh yeah, and there's travel. Oh yeah, and there's this. Oh yeah, and there's this. Like, you would be an idiot not to do it. Although we come up against those. Or not an idiot. That's like not very nice. You have to probably be wrapped up in too many self-limiting beliefs and fears to not, pursue it, which I was for a long time. That's why it took me forever to get here. But I don't even know how long this call is supposed to be, Robbie, but I see a couple things in the chat. So I'm going to hop over and see. Oh, you asked me something. What would you say is the biggest impact on attracting business builders, or do you think it's more numbers? I am not a big numbers person. You guys will be really happy to hear, although I'm like, this stresses me out to no end. I have recruited between 5, 10, 15 coaches a month, and I'm number 9. That would be a relief if I was in your shoes, because when I came in, the top 10 were recruiting like 70 coaches a month or 50 coaches a month. And I was just like, oh my God, how do you do that? And I never want to do that. I want to grow my coaches. But I do think to attract business builders, you need to be bold and you need to be kind of a baller on your social media. Meaning when you tiptoe around and I talk about the feels all the time. I love the feels of all of this. But like, I have coaches that talk about the feels on every single post, and it's annoying and it's too touchy-feely. And like, that wouldn't be attractive to me. Like, I want like a baller coach that's going to like show me how to work this business and show me how to do this. And so I think you have to have, everybody's got that within them. I mean, I think you have to just have some boldness and some strength in your personality and have that come across. And you have to talk about where you're going. And I mean, I was talking about where I was going in month one. You know, I wasn't, it's not like I have new coaches all the time. Like, well, I don't make what you make and I haven't gone on the trips. Well, guess what? I hadn't made what I made or gone on any trips when I was sitting in your shoes. And I was talking about how pumped I was about where I was going every day. So it's about where you're going, and it's about the vision that you have for your team and what you want to build and all of that. I think hard numbers, you know, help sometimes. It's the scariest thing that I've ever done in my life. I'm getting ready to do one probably this week, to put out income, straight up income. I never want to be that icky network marketer, but I know for a fact that I would not have had my life changed by this opportunity unless somebody else had the guts to do that. And so I will get over my damn self and do that for somebody else. And I have brought in my coach brought in me from an income post, and I brought in Aaron Hopkins from an income post. So there's something to be said about income posts. And I also don't think you need to be at the point where, you know, you're making $20,000 a month. You know, my income post that Aaron pulled the trigger on was that I would think I was making like just over $5,000 a month. That was a ton of money to her. You know, that was a ton of money to see somebody being able to have the freedom and working from home and being with their kids to make that amount of income. I think it actually gets more unrelatable when you start making a lot of money, and it gets way harder. Okay. I was the same. Yeah.
Besides weekly calls, is there anything else that you do to make your coaches 10x their activities and work the business like you do?
I mean, we talk about the system, like we talk about inviting a lot in the beginning of the month. We talk about that all the time. Like, we try to get everyone to do that. And I think momentum builds momentum. I mean, obviously that's nothing that I've done, but momentum builds momentum. You know, when that first diamond went diamond, because we were so closely knit, everybody was like BFFs at that point. And it was like, CC just went diamond? I'm going diamond. And then somebody else was like, they just went diamond? I'm going diamond. Like, nobody was going to be left behind. And so we've continued to create and have that momentum on the team. Like, you know, that was like my first tribe of diamonds. And then all of a sudden Aaron Hopkins comes in board and like, whoo, just shoots right by him. And now all those diamonds are like, oh no, she doesn't go star diamond. I'm going star diamond, you know? So, you know, we do weekly, I do one-on-one calls. We do a team call. We share our trackers every Sunday night. So we like screenshot our trackers with like what we're tracking every week, what our yearly goals are, what our weekly goals are, what our monthly goals are. Our team shares their goals at the top of every month. We try to offer different incentives to do different things. You know, I mean, I'll obviously give Success Club gifts. But this next month, I think I'm going to do something that I've never done before, which is like, if you get into Success Club by the 15th, and Haley, I think you've done some stuff like this with Barbie. If you get into Success Club by the 15th, then you earn whatever. So, you know, I think it's a tough thing to balance, Robbie, because I think it's like, you want your people to rise up and 10x things and be the, you know, hit those super high numbers. But if they're not, you don't want them to feel like failures. You know, I've actually run into it on my team where people are hitting Success Club 5 or 10 and they feel like they're sucking because there's people on the board with 50, you know? So I think you have to honor this and recognize everybody where they are. But I think it's a lot of not pressuring people and not telling people what to do, but just leading by example. You know, and having fun with it. You know, when they see the recognition and the glory that comes with higher numbers, you know, they want it. They want it. So I don't know if that answers.
That does. I mean, honestly, that's I agree 100%. You do have to recognize them for the, you know, even the smaller numbers. I mean, those are big wins, especially getting started as a CEO or an entrepreneur. Something that really stood out to me that you said, Moira, is that and it reminds me of something that Micah Folsom said in Salt Lake. You don't ever go out and find the rock star, coach. You build them, you rise them, you bring their level up to where you're at. And, and you did that by your weekly calls, and making sure that you were building that culture with them. And I think that's important for a lot of coaches to hear, because they're like, they sign them up and they're like, well, why aren't you doing your stuff? And they're not doing those weekly calls with their coaches, and they're not, getting to know them, and Haley always talks about, how well do you know your coaches? Do you know them like the back of your hand? Or, like she talks about how she's like best friends with each of her teammates. And so, I think that was key. I really love that. And not waiting till the last day of the month. We can't be doing that. Goodness gracious. Let's not get gray hairs right now. Okay. Let's kill it at the beginning of the month. We have time for one more question. It looks like Brooke asked one. She says, on your one-on-one calls, what are you covering? Just the tracker or anything else?
Yeah, great question, Brooke. So I've always just kind of like left it like a 15-20 minute call, like checking in. Like if it's somebody that's been coaching for a while, how are you? What are you doing? What are you struggling with? What's working for you? That kind of a thing. But we actually started with a tracker, we always told people to do their tracker. And so that's the best tool that you can use, because I will have my coaches screenshot me their tracker before the call, and it weeds out people really quickly. Because like I had a coach this year, probably the most ornery coach that I ever had, that was like, kind of ripping me to shreds about how I didn't give her enough time. And like, I'm doing weekly one-on-one calls with you. Like most coaches don't do that. And just like really, pointing the finger at me. And I'd be like, hey, the only way that I can really help you is if I see what you're doing. So non-negotiable, send me a screenshot of your tracker before our call. Guess what? She goes to the next call. Guess what? She goes to the next call because she wasn't doing the work. And so it really gets people clear on like, they don't get and I never want to be the coach that says that. I used to hate it when people say that. Like they don't get my time unless they do this. I've never said you have to hit Success Club to get my time. I think that's crazy, because like, how are they going to hit Success Club without my time necessarily? You know what I mean? But if I can see what they're doing, I can really help them. Like I had a coach this summer, no exaggeration, was inviting 10 to 20 people per day, following up with 20 to 30 people per day, busting her hump and not getting anywhere. And I was having weekly calls with her, and I was just like, I honestly was like totally perplexed. Like, I don't know why this is not working. Finally, she started filling out her tracker. She was posting 3 times a week on social media. And I was like, oh, okay. So, and I would have never known that. Like we talked about social media, but I didn't see hard numbers. And I'm not the coach that looks at my coach's social media. I don't have time for that unless you ask me to. And so she was inviting all these people, but if you went to her Facebook page, you didn't even know she was a coach. You didn't know she was working out every day. Like you knew nothing. So like what was going to get these people? They would probably thought like, why did this random chick that works in HR just invite me to do a workout with her? And so I was able to recommend, jab, jab, right hook. I was able to say, this is our goal for next week. You need to post 5 times a week on social media. We're going to stair step you up to this. I'm going to hold you accountable to this. And lo and behold, she couldn't do it. She just had a thing with social media and she ended up falling off. But like, I felt like I at least had direction and the solution that I could offer her, and we could talk about her struggles with that and her fears around that. But I was oblivious to it before I saw her tracker.
I love that. Seriously, yeah, I think the tracker is key. Something that popped into my head that Jeff Hill, commonly says. He says, the coaches that are questioning, the coaches that are negative, and the coaches that can't handle the accountability are the coaches that aren't doing the basics, that aren't doing the natural wins in their business. And I'm like, dude, that's so true. The coaches that come to him all the time are the ones that are like, I'm digging deeper in my organization, and I'm not going to go out and invite. I'm not going to go do those things. So, guys, this call was awesome. Moira, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day and talking to us in regards to, what's working right now and how we can really kind of take better action in our businesses. With that being said, guys, we will go to next week. We'll be here Monday at 10 a.m. And let's go kick some butt. Let's go take some big action these last 2 months in our businesses. Remember, November to remember, get your teammates together and all of your team on a team. So, all right, guys, we'll see you.
Bye, guys.